Welcome back. Now, 24 hours after the emergence of a sad story from Delhi where 40-year-old Puneet Khurana, a cafe owner, died by suicide, there is now a disturbing development in the narrative. We understand that Puneet Khurana has now recorded a video before his death alleging that he was driven to suicide due to mental abuse and financial exploitation at the hands of his estranged wife and her family. In this video statement, Khurana has detailed the overwhelming pressures placed on him during the divorce proceedings, including a demand for an additional 10 lakh after the terms of the mutual divorce were already sorted, something which he claimed he could not afford. Viewers, the dying statement that we will now play out could be triggering, so please exercise discretion, which is why we are also running at the bottom of your screens. We will also be running a helpline with numbers of helplines for in case you need help or if you feel that someone around you, a loved one of yours, could need help as well. But having exercised due discretion and having given all cautions, listen in to Puneet Khurana's dying declaration.
Regarding my final statement, I am about to commit suicide because I'm being extremely tortured by my in-laws, my wife. We have already filed for a mutual divorce on certain agreed terms and conditions. Obviously, when it comes to mutual divorce, there are terms and conditions which we have mutually agreed upon. We have signed upon in court. We have duly respected. We at least committed to respect the court and agreed to fulfill those conditions within the stipulated time period that is usually allotted by court for 180 days. Now we are approximately 90 days through to the stipulated time period. Another 90 days to go. But my in-laws, my wife, they are already pressurizing me to new set of conditions which are beyond my scope. They are asking for another 10 lakh rupees, which I don't have any capacity to pay off, and I cannot ask my parents to further pay it. They've already paid enough because of me.
Now, Khurana's family has accused his wife and in-laws of consistent harassment, not just financially, but emotionally as well. The allegations include hacking into his social media accounts and emotional manipulation, with his mother stating that her son suffered in silence to protect the family. The chilling video and the sequence of events leading up to his tragic death have now become pieces of evidence in a police investigation. Now, with similar cases emerging across the country, whether it be the recent case of Atul Subhash, the Bengaluru techie, as well as that of Puneet Khurana, there is urgent questions about the mental toll of marital and financial disputes and how deeply abuse can run within families. Now, but there is a small nuance difference. With Atul Subhash, there was a case of how legal harassment was misused to squeeze husbands dry in terms of emotions and energy and money. Here, Puneet claims that even after the court gave the go-ahead for a mutual divorce, he was still blackmailed for a sum of 10 lakhs. So how helpless is our system really? That is what we'll try and break down. Once again, two disclaimers here. We have not heard officially from the wife's side of the statement here, so we are not going to try and make it a mob attack on her. And also, I am not going to reduce it to a battle of the sexes because I feel this is a systemic problem which affects both men and women. Having said these ground rules, let me go across to Shonee Kapoor, men's rights guest, who's joining me. I'm also being joined by Rekha Agarwal, who is a family lawyer, and I'm also being joined by Rishika Dhawan, advocate and managing partner at MR Corp. Thank you all for joining me today. Let me begin with you, Shonee Kapoor. Shonee, the story which often was highlighted after Atul Subhash's case was how, cases like 498A, Domestic Violence Act, sections like 377 are being misused in order because the fact that they're inherently gender neutral, gender biased, I beg your pardon, they're being misused to try and harass the husband by piling up fake cases and then make him run again and again for every case to the wife's native place, so as to pile harassment and therefore create a situation where the process is the punishment. Here, so far, we have not heard allegations of fake cases being filed. We have just heard of threats of harassment cases here. Yet we understand that what we heard in this dying statement of Puneet, saying that even after the court has agreed to a mutual divorce, after terms and conditions have been met, there's still extra pressure coming to me for 10 lakhs. As in your experience as someone who has dealt with these cases on a personal level and fought for these cases, is that really plausible and believable?
Yes, it is very much plausible and believable. Such things don't happen often, but they do happen. There are instances where such demands come after first motion that they need certain more amount. Uh, of course, there is a way that a person can approach High Court for contempt of court, that is in Delhi only, because all other states such affidavits are not given, which is given in Delhi. But yes, there is a recourse, but have a look at it. If there are 122,000 men who have committed suicide in 2022, and there would be more because data is not out this of 24 or 25, there are different stories. So, emotional harassment, systematic harassment, legal harassment, there can be various reasons for a person committing suicide. But the crux of the matter is that the law, as it stands now, because he was also harassed by, he was also threatened by misuse of law, you know. So the way the laws stand right now, they need a overhaul. They need an overhaul, and there is a need of a strict misuse clause in all the benevolent provisions of law which exist today, be it it related to dowry, rape, molestation, sexual harassment at workplace, or even child custody and maintenance laws. So, and I'll add another thing. Whether it was Atul Subhash case, whether it is case today of Puneet Khurana, or a person who committed suicide yesterday again once by jumping into a river in Bangalore, a person committed suicide yesterday in Agra. So all these cases, if you see a common theme, all these cases, money has been demanded from a man. And let me add you, let me give you a further perspective. See, for a man, whatever he has earned all through his life, whatever he has built all through his life, if there is a threat to his work, his monies, or his accumulation, it is a very big threat to his complete personality. So please understand that if a man is unable to pay for his freedom, as he was asked for 10 lakh rupees, and as he can be heard saying that I cannot ask my parents to pay any further because they have already paid enough.
Yeah.
So that he has hit a dead end with as far as his finances are concerned, and he cannot probably borrow or anything more to pay his wife. So we have to look at it whether in the name of laws an extortion racket is being run. And though I understand that I'm using a very strong word, but if all the cases are eventually settling for money and they are not taking to, they are not going to their logical end to acquittal or conviction, then we have to understand that it is some sort of extortion racket only which is being run, and let us put an end to it.
Okay, before I go across to Rekha, let me bring in Rishika Dhawan at this point. Rishika, since you are a senior advocate and you understand how these cases play out here, break it down for our viewers. Unfortunately, for most of us, we understand divorce the way it happens in Bollywood films. You just sign with divorce papers and you're done with it. Even when a mutual divorce comes across, there's still a cooling off period. There's still a time between the first motion and second motion. There's family mediation which goes on, and that is where often, as we saw in the case of Jaunpur, that is where it becomes sort of a no holds barred, where there are two sides negotiating and depends heavily on where the adjudicator stands. Is the system so rotten that even when the laws are not actually applied falsely, as seems to be in this case, the threat of them is enough to bully someone into submission and perhaps even taking his own life?
So here we need to understand what is a mutual divorce to answer to that question. Mutual means
Yeah.
both parties agree to close a matrimonial dispute by by ensuring that both parties after the separation are safe. Mutual divorce mostly in today's time would mean you take money from the man, you take certain amount of security from the man, which is passed on to the weaker sex here, the woman, and automatically the matrimonial arrangement breaks by a mutual divorce. This is how mutual divorce works. Now, as far as the process being rotten is concerned, it is not a process being rotten, it's the mindset. That even if a person is a business owner
Okay.
here, in Puneet's case, the wife was given one of the cafes out of the two. She was capable of earning, yet there was money arrangement, and there is a recording that was the last recording at around 3:40 a.m. in the night of Puneet, wherein it can be heard between the two that the lady is talking to the gentleman, not going into the merits of the recording. It's something that would be dealt administratively, but in the recording it can be heard that the lady is saying that while there has been an arrangement of separation mutually in a mutual divorce case, there is still the business arrangement wherein from where she needs more money, and that is where Puneet can be heard speaking that the if we are separating, it means you shouldn't be going back on the terms of mutual separation. My challenge here to explain is mutual divorces do not remain mutual. And also mutual divorce, if
Yes.
someone goes back on the terms of settlement, how should the courts take that up? Yes, you can go ahead and challenge it in contempt of court processes, but is that easy? And what happens if someone goes back on the terms of the settlement
Yeah, because that's,
after the
to
settlement
my
has already
understanding,
happened?
Rishika, that's exactly what the husband wants to avoid in the first place, going to court against the woman,
Yes.
because the die is loaded against him, which is why they're going for a mutual divorce in the first place. To avoid going to
Yes.
a court and making it a man versus woman fight, because as we have discussed, that is prejudice. In that case, Rekha Agarwal, is, as Shonee Kapoor pointed out, is the only solution coming up with very strong deterrents in the form of anti-misuse laws, so that even this threat is not used, or at least this hauwa is not created over the threat of false cases, that we see people thinking that even dying is a better alternative.
What has happened in the Puneet case is absolutely and extremely shocking and unfortunate. But what I'm not able to understand is that, in Delhi, as Shonee Kapoor also pointed out, that in Delhi we have this affidavit which is compulsory, which is called the Rajat Gupta Rupali Gupta affidavit, where it is made very clear that in case either of the parties, reneges from the settlement terms, then they're going to be hauled up for contempt of court. So I think that in the case of Puneet, if the first motion had already taken place and both the parties, Puneet and his wife Manisha, had acted upon the terms of settlement, having accepted the terms of settlement and having acted upon them, neither of the parties can back out of it, and it is very easy to file a contempt of court case, where if any of the parties has got a strong reason for backing out, they also have a opportunity to explain that under what conditions a particular party is asking for more money or backing out from the terms of settlement, for example regarding the custody. So the party who wants to back out from the settlement has got an opportunity to explain to the court the reason why it is not a case of blatant a misuse, a blatant violation of the terms of settlement, but maybe because either the parties has been taken for a ride, there has been a concealment of the various facts, for example the financial situation, or regarding the custody of the child, whether the child has been doing well in school, or whether the child is suffering from some ailment. Now all these things,
Okay.
if they have been concealed from either of the parties at the time of entering upon the settlement, then the party who wants to back out does get an opportunity to explain. So in the case of Puneet, I think that I really do not understand that what prompted him to end his life in this manner. He did have the opportunity, and it was not a very difficult thing. The Rajat Gupta Rupali Gupta affidavit, which is compulsory in Delhi at least, is very crystal clear. So if Manisha was backing out from the settlement, I wish Puneet had not done what he did and filed a contempt of court. It is not as difficult as it sounds. There was a way out. It's not the end of the road. It's
Okay,
not.
let me then bring in
There
Shonee
is, of
Kapoor at
course,
this
as
point.
Shonee Kapoor pointed out, that there is a violation of laws, but you can't have any misuse law as such. That let us make a specific misuse law. That what if anybody misuses? So we already have the contempt of court for that.
Okay.
What more safeguards can we have in a legal system?
Shonee Kapoor, would you like to respond to that? Did
Yes,
Puneet, I mean, I don't want to get too much into conjecture, but is contempt of court that easy a option to apply, to avail? I'm not asking rhetorically. I'm genuinely asking you this question, Shonee Kapoor.
So as far as I understand, it is not a very easy remedy to avail, because it does not end. It doesn't end.
Why?
So if you look, wait a minute, Rekha. If you look at it in last 3 or 4 years or 5 years since this affidavit has been doing the rounds here, how many cases the punishment has been given to a person who has flouted this agreement? To the best of my knowledge, there is only one on record that the punishment was given. Even in that case, it is under challenge, because only Delhi High Courts has given such guidelines. No other court has given such guidelines. Secondly, when you say that there shouldn't be any misuse of clause or contempt of court is enough, then the same principle that they say that why a 498A was required when there was already a Dowry Prohibition Act, why an amendment was required in rape laws, why there was an amendment required and a POXO law needed to be there. So law is not a static. Law is not never static. So change of circumstances require the law to be amended suitably to curb its misuse. Please understand, the law is there for the needy. It is not there for extortionists. It is not there for blackmailers. It is not there for harassers. If there is a benevolent provision of law, please understand it is because you are
But
considered.
you say the law is there for the needy, but what we see often in practice, if I can sum up your point, Shonee, is that it's being used by those who are greedy. Rekha ji, I'd like you to just respond very quickly to Shonee's point in 30, 40 seconds if possible before I go to Rishika for the final comments. Rekha ji, go ahead.
Well, in principle, I would say that Shonee Kapoor is right, that yes, laws are misused and law is not static. That is absolutely true. Things have to change according to the time. But having said that, I think that the Rajat Gupta affidavit, at least in Delhi, is enough a safe remedy for any person, who is affected by a breach of compromise. So we really do not need any specific law or any special law for that. And I think a contempt of court is I think, and you have to go to the High Court for that. So if you go to the High Court for that, I think that the High Court is going to take you to task, if there is no unjustified breach of the terms of the settlement between the parties. So why do we need any special law for that? How many laws do we already have?
Rekha, with all due respect, I do not disagree with your point at all. My point is, for a lawyer like you and for Rishika, perhaps it's no big deal to go to the courts or file case at this point. For a common man, going to a police station and going to a court is an experience all of us hope we never have to go through. And unfortunately, when it comes to divorces, which is already very difficult on both parties, because there's a breakdown of marriage, having to fight it legally and really come to a point where at one point your partner is now your worst enemy potentially is a massive thing to get over with. Rishika, I'll come to you for the last word. You mentioned earlier that the problem not so much lies with the system, but it lies with the mindset. In that case, if the mindset is that of greed, to take off from what Shonee Kapoor was alluding to, when it comes to everyone involved, whether it be judges, whether it be lawyers, whether it be the people themselves, whether it be the families. Sometimes the families create the most issues at this point. Where should we start looking at changing the mindset to begin with, Rishika?
The understanding about survival of the sexes here. So if we keep in mind that the girls are going to be a liability and they're not going to work, there where there is a separation, you may give the money to the lady. But where people are capable of earning their own livelihood, surviving on their own, and then the laws are still one-sided, where man has to give the child the money, the property, the stridhan. Where is it a balance that can be struck? So the law had been made for equitable distribution of rights, but is it still applicable today? So if we see the societal construct today, everyone is capable of looking after the children, the money, the property, the
Yeah.
business, and in present case also the lady was capable of earning. Still more rights, more money, more greed has put us in a place where we are discussing someone committing suicide one after the other. So this is where education and educating every gender at all positions comes into play. This is something
Okay.
that is the need of the hour.
Indeed, I will agree with you completely, Rishka, and it's the need of the hour. And perhaps one step is to continue having discussions in a civil space. I've seen enough discourse of it being. It's made the case of Atul Subhash to it being reduced to a battle of the sexes, and that I think just erases the entire point. Thank you so much, Shonee Kapoor, Rekha Agarwal, and Rishka for joining me with your valued views at this point. That's it from me on the Urban Debate. Shreya Upadhyay joins you on the other side with The Nation at 9 and Global Mirror. Thanks for watching.